This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Hi, I'm retired NYPD Detective Vic Ferrari. And on tonight's episode of Confessions of a Retired Detective, I explain what it's like to work the Memorial Day celebration at Coney Island in uniform. Coming up in moments with Walter Sterling on the other side of midnight.
Pay your taxes. Details later. Strippers on the loose. Walter Sterling, the other side of midnight. Red Apple Audio Network.
Florida is a beautiful mix of diverse people and cultures. Florida Stories is about them getting arrested. I'm James Parker. Florida Stories still to come on the Red Apple Audio Networks.
More talking, Walter Sterling, the other side of midnight.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Memorial Day weekend, Edward Jones, a Marine veteran. Those are the scary ones. The Marines, they stick together. They know they have basic training that would kill us. Edward Jones, welcome to the other side of midnight.
Thank you, Walter. Thanks for having me.
Now, let me do something for you, Edward, because... Oh, look at this. Hold on. Memorial Day weekend, and what Edward's going to do, but I'm looking for your bio, Edward. Why don't you just tell us your bio?
Well, Walter, my
Oh,
bio
wait. Sir. Edward Jones brings deep experience in international business development, military affairs, intelligence, and oil markets across the Middle East and beyond. And impressive to me, Walter Sterling, he's a ham radio operator in Manhattan with the call sign W2LCQ. That's what's impressive, Edward. I thank you for being here tonight. Could you share with us your thoughts on the situation if you were a soldier in Iran, in the Middle East, on the Straits of Hormuz? What would that life be like right now?
Well, the life right now would be like a lot of troops that are cooped up right now on ships. The Marines' 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit is on the assault carrier Tripoli, somewhere in the Gulf, and there's about 2,200 Marines there. And I remember from my days, I had the board ship waiting to land, and you just want this thing to get over. You want to get out of there. You want to get to work and do what you're trained to do. And the longer this goes on, and they're probably thinking, let's get this over with. We want to go home. We want to do our job. We're the best in the world, and we finish it and go home. That's where they're at, I'm sure.
Are they afraid? Do they think they're about to go into battle, be bombed? What are they thinking? What do you think the fear level is? Do they think their ship's going to be totaled? Do they think they're about to launch missiles? What do they think?
There's always a feeling of I wouldn't say fear, but apprehension, anxiety. There is time, trying to play cards and mess hall. There's things that you can do, but you're trained to go into combat, and they know pretty much, I think, what their missions may be. There's Karg Island still out there, the oil processing facility that belongs to Iran. There could be landings on islands in the Strait of Hormuz. We don't know, but they're prepared for whatever the options that the president has for them. And the Secretary of War have for them, and they're prepared for those.
What I don't understand is if they're in a hurry to come home, I don't understand how they were prepared. Because if we look at the history of any war with any country, we're talking years. How did they think they were going to come home in a summer vacation?
Well, it's a very small force, which suggests that they would be given a relatively small task. Now, in the news media, they talk about the 50,000 troops that are in the Gulf. Well, in reality, only about 10 to 15, at most maybe 20% are combat troops on the ground that do combat. And that traditionally the combat arms are the infantry, the riflemen, and the artillery, the heavy arms. So So that's, we're looking here at, of the 50,000, we're looking at about 15,000 roughly that would be combat. And that stacks up because right now we know that there are 2,200 Marines there, and there are about 3,000 paratroopers, the 82nd Airborne, famous for their D-Day landing. Everyone remembers that. And so that's a 5,000, 5,500 maybe combat troops. The rest, the other 45,000, some of them are air combat. They're Air Force on the bases over there and Navy pilots on the carriers. But the carriers carry about 100 planes, 100 fighter planes each. So that's 200. It's not that many combat,
No, I appreciate that. Edward Jones giving us tremendous background, current, up-to-date information you're not going to get from Fox News or press release. This is actually on-the-ground situation in Iran from the perspective of a very successful Marine. I have a Midnight Misfit who would like to tell us a World War II story, and since you're here, I think you might like to hear it. Would you like that, Edward?
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Yes, please.
All right. First, let me share with you the fact that we're on KDKA in Pittsburgh, KMOX in St. Louis, because Steve Moore has no idea what he's doing, and Sean Compton's Chicago WGN. Benny, welcome to the other side of midnight with Walter Sterling and Edward Jones. Hi, Benny. Hello, Benny.
Mr. Sterling. Anyways, I had a house in PA. I lived there for 7.5 years. I lived there, but it was a summer house. Anyways, my neighbor was a World War II veteran, and me and him became really good friends. And he told me a story about how him and his troop, his company, walked across when the war was over. They were walking across Germany, and they walked across an encampment. And, of course, it was a concentration camp. It took them a few hours to figure out exactly what was going on. They went to the town to get food, clothing, and the people were like, we don't know what's going on. Long story short, his major, literally, the director of the town, or whatever you want to call him, the mayor of the town, goes, I don't know what's going on there. Shot him in the head. Goes, does anybody else know what's not going on there? And they all went there to go clean the Judas because they didn't want to clean. Oh, that's what he told me. He goes, we don't clean the Judas. He goes, anybody else don't want to clean the Judas? With his gun out.
Benny, that's a horrible story.
Yes,
isn't it? Doesn't it terrify you that thinking went on? I appreciate the call. Thanks very much, Benny.
Hey, buddy.
Memorial Day Stories. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Edward Jones, can you sum up the situation in Iran so we understand what might be happening this week, either in combat or in negotiations?
Yes, Walter, but very quickly, I just want to address Benny in a way. On D-Day, which I think all the listeners are familiar with, they assembled 7,000 ships off the coast of France overnight, and they landed about 260,000 troops, combat troops, on 5 beaches. That was the magnitude of that operation, and during the day it took them, it cost them about 5,000 dead and about 6,000 wounded. And that was just for that day. They landed at 6:30 in the morning. The battleships were pounding the coast from about 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a massive operation. So anyway, I just throw that out there for context. But what's happening now is very, very interesting. President Trump is saying, quote unquote, it's largely negotiated. But Iran doesn't agree with that. They in fact, they've agreed to nothing. And the other term that I've heard recently is they have a memo of understanding, an MOH. An MOU, a memo of understanding, which is more like a framework. So we don't really, I don't think, have a deal. And this is where the confusion comes in, because the deal, quote unquote, they're talking about a phase 1, which is opening the Strait of Hormuz, lifting the blockade, and letting oil flow. So the Iranians have preconditions here. They're also saying in phase 2 they would kick the nuclear can down the road for 30 to 60 days. So that's where they are right now in terms of this framework. But but we can't seem to understand that anyone is really agreeing to this thing.
No. In fact, no, you're absolutely right. In fact, today, the president said, you Republicans have to stop expecting this to end tomorrow. He chastised the Republicans for thinking it has to end tomorrow. Meanwhile, 2 days ago, he said, well, this is about to end. I can understand the confusion. Can't you, Edward?
Yes, very much so. And, you know, Walter, we've talked about this before. I try not to go into politics here, but I think a speech to the American people would be at hand right now, laying out everything.
Yeah, I agree.
There's just a lot of confusion on both sides. And to be honest with you, it seems that, you know, the Iranians have been stalling, but they've been stalling for 47 years. That's their MO, if you will, you know. And what they're seeing here is Trump, in their view, and my sources that I know and follow and read and talk to, they see a president who's confronted with division in his government and now in his party. They see a lack of political will there, and they see the economic situation with the American people, how it's affecting them with high gas prices, $5 a gallon, and fertilizer prices high. So they're just waiting him out. Now, 2 days ago, and I know this for a fact, I confirmed it with two sources. One of the brigadier generals in the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which are the hardliners that are running things there. That's the regime. When the regime changed, when they killed Khamenei, the IRGC, and I've said this before on your air, think of them as almost a Nazi-like SS organization. They're a parallel army to the kind of weak and ineffectual regular army that Iran has. That being said, the general published a meme, a very, very nasty meme, showing President Trump on his knees, bowing before an Ayatollah, with the caption, "The End." So this gives you some indication from a psychological psyops, psychological operations standpoint, what they're thinking, how they view our president, and the dilemma that he's in. So they're thinking, we'll just wait him out. Because in the midterm elections, his position politically will be even weaker. So this is the backdrop, if you will, to all of this. Now, the ceasefire is holding. The ceasefire is the Israelis agreed with our ceasefire plan in Lebanon, so they've laid off the Hezbollah, which Netanyahu didn't want to do, but he's going along with it. So it's quiet there now.
Yeah. Edward Jones, that's who you and I are talking to. He brings deep experience in international business development, military affairs, intelligence, and oil markets across the Middle East and beyond. Edward Jones, the last piece that I don't understand at all is who the hell are we negotiating with? I thought we killed all of them. And then guys in suits come out. Where were these American-looking guys in suits for the past 47 years? Instead, we always saw characters from Harry Potter.
Right now, Walter, the public face of the regime, if you will, is a gentleman called Araghchi, and he's the foreign minister. There were two other guys behind him. Pezeshkian, who's the president of Iran, and also a guy named Ghalibaf. That's a great name. Ghalibaf is the Speaker of the Parliament. He runs the Parliament, the head of the Parliament. So those three guys are the kind of civilians, but they have IRGC backgrounds. Okay, so they also drink the Kool-Aid. But understand that the negotiations, which is I call it the back channel because we really don't know what's flowing through there. The proposal went back and forth between Trump and Araghchi, but it went through the intermediary of Pakistan, okay? And Pakistan, this is through intermediaries. There's no direct talk.